Hello and welcome to the 7th episode of the NetScaler podcast. My name is Brian Huhn and I'm joined by my co-host Jason Poole. Together we explore the ins and outs of application delivery and security, deep dive into stories from the industry, and learn about the business challenges that face IT teams and how they overcome them. Jason, can you introduce our topic and guest for the day?
Sure. Thank you, Brian. Today's topic is less about a technical capability of NetScaler and more of an industry discussion. So today we'll talk about NetScaler and e-commerce. And recently, Cloud Software Group announced the formation of a dedicated team to focus on e-commerce customers and lead the charge with NetScaler in this vertical. And today we'll look at why the business has chosen to do that, where NetScaler fits into e-commerce from a technical and a business perspective, both historically and into the future, and what's in it for customers who work with NetScaler on their journey. And to do this, I'm joined by the GM of the e-commerce business unit, Baden, and its go-to-market director, Trevor Distad. I'm sure that neither of them will mind if I cast them as, shall we say, not spring chickens. Indeed, from a NetScaler perspective, they have an incredible amount of NetScaler experience between them, something like 30 years combined, which is a lot. And Trevor's been managing the NetScaler sales team in the Americas for the last decade or thereabouts. And Derek has been selling NetScaler into our largest accounts and managing networking specialists globally before taking on this new role. Welcome to both of you. I hope I got the intros right. It's been a long time to be dedicated to a product and an industry. Is there anything else you'd like to add for clarity?
No, I think you captured my end perfectly. And before we go any further, I do want to tip the hat to both of you. I'm a big fan of the podcast. I love what you're doing with it. I think it's great for the brand. And more importantly, I think it's great for the community. So keep up the good work and happy to be here.
We see it as educational, and that's really the important part of what letting the world know about NetScaler, right? So Derek, a dedicated team for e-commerce and NetScaler. Why is CSG doing this now? Perhaps you can explain the rationale to our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you think about the history of NetScaler, post-acquisition, so Citrix acquired NetScaler back in 2005. And if you think about the heritage of NetScaler, it really was with the large web properties, the hyperscalers and large web properties that, made a living delivering, web experiences in the early days of the internet, if I could call 2005 the early days of the internet. As we moved the acquisition and embedded it or integrated it into the Citrix go-to-market and engineering organizations, we started to focus more on the enterprise and the messaging around the enterprise, while similar to the heritage of NetScaler, had different needs, had different requirements. And I think over the course of time, we found ourselves almost turning our back, if you will, on this, group of customers that we grew up with or that we got our start with. And so as we went private and became part of Cloud Software Group, there's a recognition that we still have, in fact, a significant group of customers who still use us in that fashion to deliver, web experiences, to transact with their end users over the internet. And we still provide a ton of value. And so it was an effort to get back to those customers and really basically understand what it is they need and how they've evolved and make sure that the product keeps up with them over time. So it's really exciting time for us in the BU.
Yeah, I think to add to that, Jason, the part that's been really interesting is with the amount of time and experience that we have with the solution. We've met with hundreds and hundreds of e-commerce customers over the years. And as we went private, it really gave us the opportunity to step back for a minute and really look at how do we best serve those customers. And so what you're seeing now is this new team that's evolved, but not only from that, going out and having discussions specifically with our largest customers and hearing from them that they need a better end user experience. They need predictability in their costs. They need reliability and scalability in the product. They need better visibility and simplification of how they do that, along with automation and consolidation, a lot of things. It gave us the opportunity to come back and re-look at how we actually sell and provide the best service to these types of customers. And so we're really excited about some of the new things that are coming out around that.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. Thanks for the context. And I know you guys have mentioned this term e-commerce and how this new BU is existing for it. Can you go into a little bit more detail as to what we mean when we say e-commerce?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that. I mean, I think when we think e-commerce, we think retail, and certainly, that is one area of e-commerce. But we really took a more broad view or definition of e-commerce, and really when we look at it, it's customers who are presenting a strategic business application, or the ones that are offering goods and or services across the internet to the outside world. So it's not just retail. Think about gaming companies that do business over the internet, gambling, retail for sure, but there's trading applications, there's web collaboration and meetings, and other digital services that our customers are delivering across the internet. And as Trevor mentioned, all of the things around performance and availability and security and observability are key to their end user experiences. And so really that's the set of accounts that we've captured here in the BU.
Yeah, I think when you look at those, some of that definition is around, we started seeing very distinct differences between what, say, an enterprise application is versus what an e-commerce application is. And so it helps us put a particular lens on that side of the business to really understand that when it is e-commerce, it has a much different set of requirements and needs versus, say, doing an internal enterprise application.
So it's really about the customers that are presenting their strategic applications and not just delivering their email or the internal stuff to their customers. So they're doing their business via the web, via the NetScaler.
Yeah. Jason, just to maybe drill into that. I mean, it's, if the website goes down or if the application goes down of an e-commerce customer, the board of directors gets involved, or even worse, the media gets involved. So this is a little bit of the characteristics of the customers that we're calling on, and that we call, our true valued customers in this group, or the ones that really live and die by the application availability and performance. That's how they make their money.
And Derek, you said earlier that, when we've got the enterprise customers, their goals in life are similar. Everyone wants availability, wants a great user experience. But how are e-commerce customers using NetScaler in particular, and why? What's the functionality that's really driving them towards NetScaler?
Well, first off, I think it really does boil down to, the performance and availability of a particular website or application. And so, first and foremost, our customers trust the platform, and the architecture that we've always kind of taken to the marketplace around software first and a single pass architecture really does deliver a superior performance and allow the availability of applications, no matter where they reside, whether it be in a cloud or, as many of our e-commerce customers are doing, still on-prem. So we're seeing this kind of movement of a hybrid world where pieces of the application may be, in a given cloud or multiple clouds, and parts of the application may still reside on-prem. And that's really, we're finding our sweet spot. So, it's performance around that single pass architecture. It's also around security, which is, many of the latest security protocols are really designed to protect that data in motion. And we do that really well and very performant. And so those are really just two areas that I'd say our customers are really interested in our roadmap and the conversations that we're having with these customers.
Yeah, I think the other part that's very important is the architectural challenges that our customers are running into today. There's an evolution and a revolution of some sorts in these architectures. And so, as Derek mentioned, whether you're on-prem, whether you're in the cloud, the decisions that are made sometimes turn out not to be the right decisions. And so our customers need that flexibility to be able to change and reevaluate and do things differently. And so over the years, we've seen several of our customers move a certain direction, come back a different direction. It kind of depends on where they're at in their journey. But it's been very interesting to see how they're utilizing our technology and then how they're taking advantage of that in these different types of architectures.
And I think I'll add to that my own thoughts on that. We've seen a lot of customers going, we're all in on cloud. Well, first of all, everyone's going to build their own cloud. Well, that's really hard, and no one's really doing that. But then they're going to move everything to the cloud. And we've seen many customers decloud because of higher costs or a lack of understanding or a skill set to be able to do that. And I'm guessing that's the same with e-commerce customers in that, yes, if you go and put everything in AWS or Azure or something like this, there is an additional cost to this. No one moves to the cloud because it's cheaper nowadays. And being in control really helps these e-commerce customers manage their own customers' expectations more readily.
Well,
Would you say that's?
I completely agree, Jason. And I think about getting back to, the heritage of this software first single code base architecture, right? That really gives our customers the flexibility to deploy in the cloud or deploy on-prem or across any form factor. So if you need a hardware form factor to do, high SSL transactions or TLS transactions, then, the hardware is available to you. But that same code base, as you know, can run in a container or can run in a VM or even bare metal as a process on Linux. That really does provide that flexibility. I think Trevor talked a little bit about flexibility, but, we really go out and talk to customers about, we don't really know what the future holds. You don't know what architectures are going to evolve over time. And I think we provide a little bit of maybe a layer of abstraction, if you will, from what's happening in the underlying infrastructure. And a lot of customers like that flexibility and that optionality, if you will.
So we have versatility, which allows the customer to evolve in the direction they need to for their business, and we're right alongside them, evolving with them and making sure they can do that.
Awesome. I want to toss my 2 cents in here as well. So something related to scalability, we have a single device that can go up to 250 gigabytes per second, virtual devices that can go up to 100. And how important do you think scalability is for e-commerce customers in specific?
So I think from the customers that we work with, it's one of the most critical parts, Brian. And so when you think about, we work with some of the largest e-commerce customers in the world. And so as they continue to grow and expand their businesses, you start thinking about footprints, you start thinking about space, you start thinking about how you manage all of that. The opportunity and the ability and the scalability side of NetScaler really provides a dramatic benefit to those customers. And then if you start thinking about seasonality, if you think about special events, so on and so forth, or in some of those cases where unfortunately maybe you've got some other malicious activity happening. I mean, we have instances where people are attacking a certain customer and the scalability just handles the attack. It's not necessarily an issue for them, right? So there's a lot of different areas when we think about that. And then when you start thinking about your investments and you start thinking about the costs around those things, there's definitely advantages if you have something that scales, far beyond, say, what you're using today at a lesser cost. There's a big benefit there.
Well, I think, Brian, one of the benefits of the e-commerce business unit as we formed it and started to really dig in or reacquaint ourselves with these customers was that the way that the industry has traditionally licensed this technology has really created a barrier, if you will, to proper usage or to getting the kind of performance and scalability and versatility that our e-commerce customers demand. And so one of the things that we did very early on, and it is still fairly new, is vastly simplify how we license the technology. So we're going to market with one SKU. And that one SKU is the NetScaler platform for e-commerce. And so it is basically the license mechanism that will allow you to unlock all feature sets and the max capacity, no matter where you're deploying. And so to your point, yes, we can scale, but in the past, having that available capacity often, to Trevor's point, came with a cost that was prohibitive. We're removing that barrier, particularly around this flexible licensing. So really excited about it. It's been, I think, overwhelmingly well received from our customers, and we're excited to bring it to more.
Awesome. Really interesting to hear some of that things that go beyond just what the product can do, although it is a great product with some real e-commerce heritage. But can you expand a little bit more about what's in it for the customers from the e-commerce BU perspective? What are we able to offer with this standalone group?
Yeah, I'll take it from the maybe more the product side. And then Trevor, you certainly could chime in on the go-to-market benefits of which there are quite a few. But on the product side, we have a dedicated group of product managers who are meeting with customers day in and day out. Again, reacquainting ourselves with their use cases, understanding why they choose NetScaler, and more importantly, if they're using other technologies in their stack, why, and maybe they went out and got those technologies because of gaps that we had in our solution. So I would sum it up to be more of a dedicated focus around e-commerce product needs, so that we can develop a roadmap that more closely, maps to those requirements. And then, finally, I think it's more just executive visibility. So I report directly to our CEO, which gives us a seat at the table of the overall, priorities, as it were, as we start to look at investments and where we should be, I guess, putting what wood behind what arrows. I think it affords us a higher level of visibility, and so a relatively flat BU. So our customers could almost consider it to have a seat at the executive table within Cloud Software Group. Trevor, what about the go-to-market side?
Yeah, so if you look at the go-to-market side, this is where I think it's really interesting. And first, if you look at my team and you look at those customer-facing members of our team, they now have a much smaller set of customers that they're responsible for and that they're engaging with. And the reason being is we wanted to make sure that we were able to get very close and very strategic with those specific set of customers. So this is a finite set of customers that these teams are focused on. And we're getting very close to them in terms of not only how they use the product today, but how do they need to use the product going forward. And so to that, you've now got account technical specialists that are assigned to these customers. And then where in the past, if you needed some type of consulting work or some other type of architectural assistance, et cetera, we are actually bringing those technical services to our customers as part of the overall platform. And so again, part of those discussions we have with our largest accounts was the challenges they ran into, that when they needed to expand or they needed additional help or their direction changed, it was very difficult for them to go back and get funding for those types of requests or to build that use case, so on and so forth. And so this new design that we have makes it really simple for you to work with our team to get the level of technical expertise that you need, the level of support that you need. Again, even support itself has changed in terms of this business unit and how we're offering and providing that to our customers. But it's an opportunity to develop one solution, to invest in one organization, and then not have to go back to the well every 2-3 months inside of your own company, along with knowing that you've got somebody that's intimately familiar with your company. And really, I think to our part, Derek, and we talk about this all the time, but it's really a focus on a strategic relationship. It's not about being tactical. It's not about showing up once every 3 years with our hand out. We really want to get to know these customers and get to help them in terms of their journey and be successful.
So, Derek, another aspect of NetScaler has been its observability. And I would imagine that's going to be quite important for e-commerce customers, more so probably than enterprise customers.
Yeah, that is an area that we're seeing, these customers really demand. If you think about NetScaler and where it sits in the flow of traffic or in the network, it sees everything and it collects a ton of data, and more so than I think, most proxies on the market today. And so, what we're seeing is customers, we obviously have our own observability, product and tool, but we're seeing these e-commerce customers really look for that data to be exported. And many of them, all of them have, very mature observability stacks. And so really the ability to take that data out of NetScaler and import it into, other tools like Splunk, and some of the other modern tools on the market today, really is something that customers are seeing great value in, and we're happy to provide it. Again, where we sit in the network makes us so important to the application delivery. Why not take all of that information and provide it back to customers so that they can do something with it? And then, Trevor, maybe you could talk a little bit about some of what we're seeing around security, specifically around things like API security or even bot management.
Yeah, certainly. And actually, I think it ties into even observability, right? So if you think about the customers that we're serving now, if you think about financial customers, if you think about payment gateway customers, if you think about EDI customers, et cetera, there's a lot of sensitive data that is contained inside of that information. So one, it's having the proactive ability to see where challenges could potentially come up, but then two, how that relates to security. And so providing our customers with the ability to track, to see, to realize, to understand where potential holes are, where potential threats lie, what is actually communicating with their technologies or with their applications. There's a lot of information that resides inside of that. And then there's also other abilities that it actually kind of goes back to our scalability question, that sometimes when you think about security, the performance that you take can be significant. And Derek mentioned single pass architecture previously, along with the ability to flex these licenses without restriction or cost, if you will. And so being able to take advantage of things like web application firewall, API security, bot management, in this new model, the performance hit that you take for that is really alleviated. And so you have the ability to take advantage of these really strong security tools, along with the information that's contained in them, be able to turn those functions on, be able to expand them and move them further out into your environment. And again, be able to have that security and that benefit, that visibility of the data that's happening without having to worry about the cost of that or the need to go make other investments. So I think that in talking with our customers with this new evolution, that's probably been one of the bigger things that they've hit on and really appreciated in terms of the new model and their ability to take advantage of all the features of NetScaler and to be able to secure their data and have visibility to it.
One thing we didn't touch on that I think is also important to note is, the role that NetScaler can play in the actual application logic, if you will. So a lot of the customers that we call on have used NetScaler to really put the business logic on that platform, which greatly reduces the amount of infrastructure that they need on the back end. So, a ton of value that gets added, just in that one particular area of often overlooked area of traditional ADCs. But we see e-commerce customers really leveraging this to drive performance and end user experience. So again, just to kind of sum it up, right? You package all of that together with the flexible licensing, with the performant nature of the architecture. It really is in our heritage, really the understanding of these markets has led us back to focusing on these markets as a potential area for growth and to add value to what our customers are doing. So we're thrilled about it, happy about the future.
So just to bring this back together, in summary, what we've got here, we've got this new e-commerce team. So from the very beginning, only NetScaler adopted a software-first approach that gave it the capability of the e-commerce customers needed to ensure the availability, performance, scalability, security, and observability of their web properties and provide the experience their users demand. And when you look at some of NetScaler's customers, they'll show you that it's relied on by some of the largest businesses out there precisely for the value that it brings them. The efficient way that NetScaler manages connections is instrumental in dramatically reducing back-end server requirements and lowering the overall TCO of some of the largest internet businesses today. The top cloud providers use NetScaler to provide performance and availability to their infrastructure. Every time you ask your phone for help, you go through a NetScaler. Invariably, when you make a purchase from large retailers, every time you partake in online auctions, every time you trade a stock, you're going through a NetScaler. And a confident estimate is that 75% of internet users go through a NetScaler every day. And it's largely because of the NetScaler presence in these large e-commerce customers.
Awesome. Thank you for that summary, Jason. And Derek, Trevor, it sounds like you're somewhat familiar with the podcast, so I think you know what's coming next. At the end of these episodes, we like to ask you guys to make some type of bold prediction. It can be anything related to the IT industry. It doesn't have to be NetScaler or ADC specific, but it can be if you like. So can you let us know what you're forecasting for the future?
Yeah, well, asking us the forecast question always is brings it right back to what we do day in and day out. Look, I like to save the bold predictions for the technologists as it relates to IT and the general motion of what's going on. I would make what maybe isn't such a bold prediction, but look, we have a solid group of customers that we've identified that are coming on this journey with us. We've met with a ton of them. As I said earlier, the response that we've gotten so far has been overwhelmingly positive. Matter of fact, some of them have said, "I wish you'd done this several years ago." So my bold prediction is that the NetScaler e-commerce business unit at Cloud Software Group will become the fastest growing business unit within the Cloud Software Group umbrella, and it'll be through the dedication of the team that we have going to market, the group of product managers and developers, and more importantly, the support of our customers who basically depend on us day in and day out.
Yep. Which I think is a great prediction, by the way, Derek. And maybe mine's not quite as bold, but I'll probably maybe put some weight behind what you just said, and that is, I think there was a point in time where people saw the ADC or traditionally a load balancer as kind of a commodity type of solution. And the excitement around this is that we have an opportunity right now to kind of reinvent and build the next evolution of NetScaler. And what's going to promote that more is the consolidation process that's taking place in the industry right now. It's the requirements for more automation and microservices. And then I think there's interesting things that are happening around AI and machine learning as well. They're going to continue to push the envelope of really what does an ADC provide, and what does it mean to have an enterprise e-commerce type of ADC in place.
Awesome. Derek, Trevor, thank you both so much for joining us and taking the time. Also, I want to thank everyone who's tuned into this episode of the NetScaler podcast. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or the Citrix community website. You can also find us on YouTube if you'd like to watch the video version of this interview. And if you're already here, leave us a comment on what you thought. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.